when I first met you over at Outback, I was already kind of formulating the idea of doing this podcast. And so, you start kind of looking at your friends and people you meet just slightly differently in the terms of like, oh man, I'd really like to have a recorded conversation with this person. And I sat there. Well, first of all, you were shooting your traditional bow at a moving ball on a string. And I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? I've never even tried this before. This is insane. And then we talked probably for a couple hours, it seemed like.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right,
a good long time.
right at Outback. And so, but one of the things I really took away from that conversation was like, you have a certain grit and tenacity to you that I see in like some of my Western hunting buddies that is not so common in the whitetail space. And so that's kind of when I was like, oh, I don't even know this dude, but like I have to have a podcast with you. So you were on my top 10. I didn't even tell you that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's definitely a huge compliment. Yeah, no, I always tried to make it fun for me. And that's what it's been about the whole time, is just keeping it exciting the whole way through. So
yeah,
the trad bow stuff, all that has been a good way to keep things challenging.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you miss with a trad bow, at a ball that's swinging on a string, you can't take it too serious.
Right. And so you're committing to the trad bow. I seen you're selling your bow tech and you're going to go just straight up traditional all year.
Yeah. So I actually did that for it's probably a 5-year span. And I had some success with it, some really good hunting years that way. And I've missed it these last couple of years chasing with the compound. You get so comfortable at setting up for that 20 to 40 yard shot versus setting up for that 20 and in. So I've lost a lot of that intimacy with the process, and I miss it.
Yeah. I keep telling myself every year I have a longbow that I love to shoot and a recurve that's like 55 pounds and absolutely just screams. I mean, it's got to be, I would guess, I haven't chronoed it, probably 240 feet per second.
It's moving faster than mine.
And I keep telling myself, I'm going to take a doe with this year. And then it just doesn't seem like I can ever fill my deer tags fast enough before duck season hits. And I'm like, oh, got to get out of the woods and into some wet crap in the cold.
Yeah. It's hard to switch gears and do that whenever, you've got the routine of everything that you've been doing. You got your whitetail routine, you got your out west routine and ducks, and making time nowadays is the hard part. But man, I will say, spend a year of running around with the trad bow, and you take away more out of that one season of misses and failures than you do, 4 or 5 running around with the compound, from my perspective.
Right.
And it's, again, a lot to do with the intimacy with the process.
Yeah. And so what was your hunting season like last year? Because did you have your bear hunt last year?
Yeah. So last spring, ended up going up to Montana.
Nice.
That was my first bear hunt. Second trip out west, but first time as a tag holder.
Yeah.
And I got lucky. I ended up shooting a bear on the day one of the hunting. And coincidentally, on our way up the mountain, I had come across a pass, and it just looked what I thought to be really berry. And I'm like, guys, if we're going to get one on this trip, this is where it's going to happen. I kid you not, I shot that bear less than 200 yards from that exact spot the next day.
So your instincts were right.
They led me to the right spot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so how many guys were on that trip, and did anybody else tag out?
It was 3 of us total, and the remainder of the trip I split off with one of the guys. We chased them, and we were on their tail pretty much the whole time, but with bears, as they are, they're kind of hard to be consistent with. So it's always chasing your tail or sitting and glassing. And we didn't quite get close enough to be able to get eyes on another bear. And then the other buddy, he ended up seeing a grizzly.
Oh, shit.
Which is not something that we had tags for. So we just he had to admire that and let it meander off. And, that was about the end of the bears. That trip.
Bears are tough, man. I had the Missouri black bear tag last year, and I had some good bears on camera over in the national forest and was doing everything I possibly could. But I don't know if you remember that week from like the 18th to 25th, I believe is when the season was open. It was like a hot week in October.
Yeah.
Which is unseasonal.
Absolutely.
And so, but it did kind of, and I've had black bear tags in the past in Oregon. Those in the fall tags, those primarily just get filled by guys who are deer hunting or elk hunting and come across a bear.
Oh yeah.
The spring bear tag, you can kind of treat it more like that Montana hunt. But the problem, well, not necessarily a problem, it's just the situation in Oregon is that in the Cascade Mountain Range, it's so thick, so insanely thick. Like in Montana, you get a lot of that broken cover and terrain where it's like some plains, some meadowy stuff, and then a lot of, woods, but it's just all woods.
Yeah. No, I could see where that would definitely make things challenging, because that was even out there where you have all those open gaps and you can get up on a ridge and really be able to glass a whole basin. I mean, to see into some of those pine thickets or, standing pines, it's a nightmare.
Montana, that's such pretty country up there, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to get an elk tag in that. Well, it's not impossible. It's just their application process is very, very complicated. And even for somebody like myself, who I consider myself to be relatively proficient in the application process, I just don't even bother with Montana right now.
Yeah. No.
Was the bear tag tough to get?
So the bear tag in Montana was an over-the-counter tag.
Okay,
so that made things very beneficial. I actually wasn't intending on being a tag holder. I was going up with a turkey tag originally. And I just know how things go. As we discussed, it's very, happenstance whenever a bear does come into the picture. So I was like, well, I better be prepared, because my luck, it never fails. I always have the opportunity, no matter how hard I try and put somebody else in a better spot. Yeah. It happens. So I was glad I did.
Yeah. Did you end up filling that turkey tag while you're out there as well?
I didn't see a single bird that whole trip.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
He just got back from Nebraska for a turkey hunt, and we were sitting at the shop yesterday, and Tommy was sitting around too, and got to talking about turkeys in these other states, primarily the western states. Even Nebraska is, you could call it, there's parts of it you could probably can call a western state.
Yeah.
But like in Colorado and stuff, they don't care about turkeys.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in Montana like to hunt turkeys, but it's so odd to me, the dichotomy of like the obsession with turkey hunting in states like Missouri and pretty much anything Kansas and east, really.
Oh, yeah.
Versus over there, they're like, turkeys are stupid. Like, we don't even care. And the farmers will give you way more access too, because there's just not the lack of hunting pressure, so therefore their populations are higher and can tear at more crops.
Oh, yeah.
I just always thought that was... Have you ever gone any further west for turkeys or anything like that other than this trip?
So the furthest west that I've been for turkeys is Kansas, and I did fill my tag there. That was kind of a fun trip. I went in blind. I had my Onyx, but I didn't do any research, and I had way too much gas in the tank, and just said, you know what, I'm going to go hit a property, every day or more until I find the birds. And it took me about a week and a half to find the birds. But once I got on them, I was on them and was able to capitalize on my biggest to date.
Was that with a shotgun or was that with a bow?
So I spent the first week and a half after I found the birds trying to get on the day one that I found the birds, I got on it was a triple longbeard. And yeah, I had him at 30 yards strutting, but he wouldn't break from the hens. And so I ended up trying for a few days on that bird, ultimately gave up and went with the 12 gauge and didn't kill that bird, but killed another one on the other end of the property about a week later.
Yeah, people don't realize that Kansas actually has a lot of accessible public land.
Oh, yeah.
It's seen as kind of one of those states, and it does have, in theory, a low percentage of public land because there's not a lot of national forests or anything like that. But they do have a walk-in program, and, I was just scouting the other day for pheasant hunting up in the more northern parts of the state. I don't want to totally blow my spot already before I even get out there.
Yeah, let's not do that.
But just like that, I was able to find, I think it was 12,000 acres of huntable ground in kind of a corner of 2 or 3 counties.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could find some birds in 12,000 acres,
I mean, I'd say you got some pretty good chances there.
Yeah. So I want to know a little bit more about your kind of history as a hunter, as a bow hunter. Were you born in Southwest Missouri area?
So I was actually born in Claremore, Oklahoma, at the Indian Hospital.
Oh, okay.
And
are you Native American?
I am. I'm Cherokee.
Oh, that's cool.
So don't look it very much, but I mean, it's in there. And that was actually, I got to attribute that a lot to my bow passion, especially the traditional stuff. Yeah. I had 2 uncles that were really into the flint knapping and making arrowheads and bows and all that jazz growing up, and was just very fortunate to have been exposed to that. So that's where the love for it originated. And at like 4 years old, Dad put a bow in my hand and would take me out to the woods. And that was when my deer hunting started. Now granted, the bow wasn't one that I was going to go shoot at a legitimate deer and take a deer with.
Hunting.
Yeah, but that's where it all, I still remember being 4 years old, shooting every arrow that I had in my little bow quiver at this deer that was like 150 yards out.
That's funny.
Every arrow maybe made it 10 yards,
Wow.
And just those little things led me down the path to where I'm at. I do a lot of rifle hunting as well, but even still, I like to stay more towards traditional stuff. It's always been about the challenge and what makes it more interesting, more fun for me, because I'm about the miles in between, not the finish. I've learned just not to rush the process.
Yeah.
I've gotten, I don't know, a heck of a lot of appreciation for the woods and the wildlife that is stemmed just out of running around with the stick and string and having to have that patience to be exposed to those opportunities.
Yeah. And, a lot of people probably think that I'm like such an anti-rifle guy because of the amount of crap that I talk, but I really I'm just going to go on the record saying here, ultimately, I don't care what you hunt with. If you are buying your tags and supporting wildlife through that process and conservation, you're buying camo, you're buying ammo, weapons, whatever it may be, you have my support 110%.
Oh yeah, just go through the legal processes and make it fun, whatever it needs to be for you, and trying to respect our fellow hunters while we're out there, because for me, I'm a big public land guy, so that's a big proponent to keep in mind.
And it's tough, man. I mean, unfortunately, I go back and forth on this. I in part, I'm like, there's not enough public land in the South Missouri areas. But then I'm also like, actually, there probably is. I just wish it was better maintained.
Yeah, and I think that is pretty much a general consensus across the board. I do a significant amount of the public land stuff. I actually live out of my van and travel and stay on public land. So it's just kind of been a hobby for me. I see a lot of the places, and across the board, we've got some great lands and some great opportunities here in Missouri. But the management side of things could definitely be better.
Well, and one of the things that I've noticed recently is I'm like, you guys are always managing for dove. It's like, why are these dove fields immaculate, and yet we can't get, some standing corn for late season or whatever it may be. I'm like, I know people like shooting their doves, but like, come on, man.
Yeah, why do we need a 50-acre sunflower field?
You don't only need so many dove poppers,
Well, and dove season's relatively short-lived, It seems like the hype of it is that first week or two, and then after that it kind of dies off, and everybody starts falling into the squirrels or the rabbits or the deer and all the fall things.
I haven't done it before. I got invited last year from a buddy of mine. But it's like the beginning of September, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That's elk season,
Oh yeah, which I'm ready for this year.
You're gonna do some elk hunting this year?
Yeah. I did go out west, not this last year, but the season before, to Colorado, and chased him with a buddy as a caller, and just had a blast with it. But I'm pulling the trigger this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out there and see what I can do.
Well, you better get that application in. I think it ends on the 7th, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. That is correct. So we'll see if I get lucky and draw my preference unit.
Yeah.
So
You going in with a few points?
no, I don't have any preference points going in, so it'll be luck if I draw off the rip. But
there's still so many units that you can get over-the-counter tags for. You shouldn't have a problem. And you're a smart guy. You know how to read you've been doing the public land thing for a long time, the game. So
yeah, and I've got a buddy out west too. He kind of kept an eye on things for me last year, and so the units that I'm wanting to go pursue them in, I don't feel like I've got to worry too much about it. So we'll see how it goes, though.
Public land.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I love about a place like Colorado is not only is there public land in the terms of national forest or even, the private access stuff, which we see out here, but you can get into those true wilderness areas with no motorized vehicles. And I've heard some conversations with biologists and, land managers before. They're like, actually, those lands could be managed better because that means no invasive species control and things of that nature. But I'm like, look, Theodore Roosevelt implemented these wilderness areas because he knew what you guys would do to these freaking places if we didn't protect them. If you could get something more than a horse back there. Mm-hmm. And I think about that all the time. Theodore Roosevelt is an absolute hero of mine. That level of foresight that some of our forefathers had before us for our country, it's mind-blowing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think we see prime examples of why it's important. I mean, we've got a local public land access spot. I'm not going to name any names.
No, don't do that. Yeah.
But they ended up, back in the day, you used to be able to drive up and access this particular lot on that property. And people started neglecting that, and kids doing donuts and stuff like that as they do, and now there's no longer an access to that, which in turn has shut off the ability for some of these disabled individuals to be able to access deeper into the property as a side effect of it. So
yeah, that is really unfortunate. Mm-hmm. I see it it's like one of those things. If I I'll be out. I'll say I was at this spot because there's no hunting at this spot.
Okay.
I was at the Bicentennial Conservation Area in Neosho the other day. Mm-hmm. And it's essentially a small refuge, and of course, turkeys, deer, all over the place, right?
Yeah.
But you get in there and it's just, there's trash everywhere. And everywhere I go, I see that type of thing. And I'm like, man, I could fill up a backpack every time I'm out here with just litter.
Oh, yeah.
And you see it on the national forest. People will dump stuff out there, and it's like, it probably gets under my skin more than it should. Mm-hmm. But it's like, look, this is our lands as the people, and if you want to treat your own place like this, but it's like, come on, man, this is a shared experience here.
I couldn't agree with you more. I actually hauled off, which I arranged a couple of cleanups a couple of times over the years, but I've hauled off of one property. Oh man, it took me probably 6 trips.
Yeah.
Everything I could carry on both arms to get all this trash that was about a mile deep into it out of there. And we just got to do better.
Yeah.
It's too easy to take that empty soda can, that empty little Debbie wrapper, and stuff it in our backpack or stuff it in our pocket. I know you don't want any little Debbie icing on your nice little Sitka pants, but come on, if we don't do that, we're gonna end up losing this stuff, and it's important to keep it alive for our future generations.
And this is hearsay, but I've heard in some of the conservation areas here in South Missouri, Southwest specifically, there is no management anymore.
Yeah, I've come across it a few times. It seems like over the years, the properties, the boundary lines, just they go down and down. Trail management just quits happening, and people start taking advantage of it, and you start seeing those properties then having it's a double-sided sword too, because sometimes we want less traffic at these places, so sure, it's allowing more wildlife to come through, but then you've got your bad apples that want to come in and take advantage of the fact that it's not being taken care of or watched over, and they'll throw out corn piles and everything else. And it's the Midwest, it's just going to happen. But so I see a lot of that happen on some of these smaller properties that aren't getting managed very well. I see a lot of those properties end up running into what I would equivalent to poached deer and things when I go out on my scouting trips, just way too close to the roads.
Yeah. And that corn thing, it's, I don't know how I feel about it really, because in a state like Kansas, you can bait, you can have a feeder, you can have a big old bag of corn out there, and I've done it.
Yeah.
When I'm out there 3 hours from house and I want to maximize my opportunities, or you're getting down to the wire, it's like, okay, let's go up there, get a couple bags, and or even for inventory purposes, right? Throw some corn out and put a trail camera up, and it's like, there's some big bucks in here.
Oh yeah, I've got some mature deer in the area now, and I completely side with that. I'm more for it than I am against it.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things when we're talking public land. It's like if we've got regs in place, let's try to respect those, because again, we don't want to neglect that and lose access as a side effect of it.
Well, and I know that we've shared this sentiment before, but getting deep into any public land area, I've been, when I first moved out here, I was like, yeah, I'll go 3, 4, 5 miles in, because in Oregon and other Western states, that's just leaving the trailhead.
Oh yeah.
And doing it out here in Missouri, some friends were telling me, they're like, oh man, if you go more than a quarter to a half mile, you're gonna completely stop seeing other hunters. And that has rang true more than anything. And so I've doubled down on that and going in just to nasty deep areas where I'm like, nobody in their right mind is going to go down there.
Yeah. So I kind of have a controversial opinion on that one. I don't disagree, but I do think it is situational. And I think that in a lot of cases too, in those same properties, you've got zones. You've got hot zones, I guess, would be a good way of wording it. The further you go, obviously, you're going to negate a lot of the people that aren't physically fit enough to do so. But also, too, there's a lot of people that go, 60, 80 yards off of the main road or off of the, main access trail. That isn't far enough, because I'm watching people come in and out, and I'd say more often than not, those can be a very favorable spot.
Yeah. I was just watching this guy, he's got a YouTube channel that's really interesting. It's called Whitetail Research, and he's doing that thermal drone
Absolutely.
sort of. You seen this guy?
Oh yeah, I love it. Love it.
I was just listening to his podcast with one of the Hunting Public guys, and it was talking about Southwest Missouri, and I was like, oh, he lives around here, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
And he was like, I was doing some research on a massive 160-inch deer that was no less than, I want to say maybe 100 yards from a busy interstate.
Oh yeah.
And you have all these people driving by, a absolute bruiser, and had they known, that property would have just been crushed, right?
Oh,
You've
yeah.
seen a big old buck like that from the freeway, but he just hid himself well enough and understood that pressure so well. And I just thought that was so fascinating, but it's totally contrary to my point of like, go as far back as you can. And it's like, well, he actually lives right here near the trailhead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The one thing that I will say too, that I find is a more consistent on those deer that you do run into in the deep, those deer might be potentially less educated because they've got their little hubs here and there that are 3 miles deep. They aren't seeing as much pressure.
Yeah.
So those can oftentimes be one, obviously a more higher age class, big mature deer, but one that you might be able to just kind of throw what you want at it. You could go in and be a little unconventional and just do a scouting trip to see if the 3 miles deep is worth it for you as a first timer. Find some sign, sit down, and end up playing out in your favor.
Well, that's what I did last year. Is by all measurable standards, this Kansas buck, it shouldn't have, so this was a deer hunt at a duck property.
Okay.
So
yeah.
think about like a popular duck hunting spot where hundreds, if not thousands of people go every year to hunt ducks.
Yep.
But I know there's some good cover in there. And I got to thinking, I said, okay, I need some public land in Kansas. And where's like a good food source? Obviously farmers and stuff like that. And actually not too far from here, there is a lot of really good Kansas public land. I spent a lot of time, I'll just say it, over there at the mined lands, you know. You won't find me.
Got a different car for when you take those trips.
I can tell you some stories about some friends who had like GPS. People were tracking their vehicles in Oregon because they were known as big elk killers.
Yeah, I've actually ran into a little bit of issues with spots, burning myself on spots just because people recognize my van.
You got your YouTube channel on it and everything.
Yeah, makes me easy to see, I guess.
Well, so I get in there, and this was 2 miles from the trailhead, and there's no motorized access in there. So in my mind, I'm like, I'll just probably carry him over my shoulders as far as I can, take a break, do that as long as it took. And I did, but yeah, I'm going to break him down like an elk and quarter him out next time. I just don't even know what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
But so here's where, like, all the things that I did wrong, okay? Got in there, and let me preface this by saying I had identified this scrape line the day or 2 days before. And then we had some favorable conditions the day I went out and hunted, so I made it happen. Get in there, bumped every deer in that area. Just hear them scatter.
Per usual.
I said, okay, they're right here. Let me climb this tree. I only climbed it about 10 feet, 2 sticks. And then, you know, there's probably 45 minutes before shooting light. So I get in there and just sit quiet, no light, no phone, none of that stuff. Sure enough, does start filing back in. Just right to where they were.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So in Kansas, you get a buck tag and a doe tag for archery. I don't know what it is for rifle. So shooting light comes up, and there's 6 does right there. Pick out the biggest one, smoke her. She runs way off, and I said, sweet. You know, and lights up a little bit, texting my wife, I just got a doe, you know.
Yep.
And then I look off in the field kind of behind me, and there's a respectable buck kind of head down chasing a doe, and I said, oh, we're getting fired up.
All right, let's see this.
And I'm distracted, right? And sure enough, though, I hear him coming down the scrape line. So I'm kind of like scrambling, getting my phone put away, all this type of stuff. And he comes just right into this little 12-foot window I had and just smoked him. He only went 30 yards and collapsed. And I was like, all right, tagged out in Kansas, first try.
Does it get any better?
But bumped all the animals, hung super low. What does everybody tell you? You know, you don't want to bump them. You want to have super clean access. You you got to be 40 feet up in a tree.
Oh, yeah.
You know, no scent control.
And I object to it almost every set that I do. I'm one of those, again, unorthodox in comparison to some of the others. And I see a lot more successes going that route than not. Honestly, it's just having a positive attitude, too. I've had several instances where I go in, like you're saying, you bump deer, and rather than, oh, man, you know, I screwed up, where am I going to go now? You end up going, well, it's okay. It's not the end of the day. Let's just sit tight. And before you know it, daylight breaks, and you've got 3 or 4 deer filtering in, or a big buck come cruising through on those doe that you spooked out of there.
Yeah.
And you're tagged out.
Right. So what do you think about the idea of, you know, we all want to get in there before first light, but a lot of people are kind of saying now that early to midday, say like 9 to 11:30, almost noon, might actually be more preferable, because that's when you have the bucks cruising looking for them bedded does. What do you think about that?
So on that, my thoughts are that it's situational, and a lot of that is terrain driven, in my opinion. I see where they have cover now, specifically probably the front half of our season, so up until mid-November. That seems to be about when we start getting into consistently cold. It seems like in the big timber, or where they've got good cover, they almost don't stop moving. You might see it in influxes throughout the day. But it seems like they're consistently moving when they've got the ability to not be exposed to, in my theory, too much heat, too much sun exposure.
Yeah.
And I see whenever I get out into like prairie lands or areas that have a lot more sun exposure, it seems like those deer tend to find pockets where they can get into some shade. They might travel further, or oftentimes it's pretty comparable from one to the other as far as the distance they'll travel. But that in between, meandering in the middle of the day, they'll stay bedded in these little pockets just to avoid the sun, is what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
And then conserve energy. But yeah, I mean, I think both places are very, very suitable to be hunting, and you're going to see a comparable success rate in both, depending upon how you do it. You just got to work with what you've got access to.
Yeah. And I think, in a way, what you're talking about is kind of just being woodsy. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Hunting, not just being like, well, this is how it's supposed to go, and da 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 da. It's like being out there, reading the current situation, the environment, how that's shifting and how that's altering. For me, I get happy feet. Like, the hardest part about whitetail hunting is sitting in a tree stand all day.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have a lot of days where I do not sit all day. I'm going to be doing more of that this season because I did have a couple of spots that I set in on big mature whitetails, 160 class or greater whitetails.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the all-day sits were where it was at for those particular deer and those particular holes. But I walked in at gray light several times this season. Actually, the day that I shot my rifle buck, I was walking in at gray light, bumped him, gave it 45 minutes, and then started J-hooking to try and get in behind the hub that he kind of meandered to. And I ended up catching him as he had slipped outside of that hub, trying to get back into that area I had originally bumped him on. And ended up shooting him at about 60 yards on the ground, slip hunting through the hills.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do a lot more kind of just that Ozark, like, backcountry style hunting. It's the Ozarks are just such a fun place to be. And if I could, live out of a backpack for even 3-4 days at a time, whitetail hunting with a bow, and it'll be more slip hunting because I'm not going to drag a tree stand with me that whole time.
Oh yeah.
But to me, that's kind of like where my heart is with it right now.
Oh yeah.
Granted, it's like one of those things. It's like you want to tag out first, and the beauty of like Missouri, it's like you want as many doe tags as you can possibly fill. Go for it.
Yeah, right? You just might have to county hop, but that's about it.
Yeah.
you can shoot a lot of does.
And so but with a place like Kansas, it's not really much of an option. You could. It's just going to be tricky, So I'll probably, if I draw a Kansas tag again this year, I'll set up in a tree stand and try and get something done on some public, but. Then I can be like, okay, cool. Now I can hunt how I want to in a place like Missouri. And I also might be getting a Nebraska tag this year. I'll probably get Nebraska if I don't draw Kansas. Because I don't know if you spend any time up there, man. That is nice.
It
nice
is
country.
It is beautiful country. It is beautiful. I've not done any hunting out there yet, but it is on the list.
Yeah. Not impossible tags to get either.
No. It seems like they're pretty reasonable.
And here I go again, giving away intel of like stuff that I want to do. And you know what? It's a podcast though. If people find it useful, I'm gonna go ahead and say, so what Nebraska has is those mule deer conservation areas, like in the southern western part of the state. So I forget the names of them. You can look them up, but it's just these designated mule deer zones. So people think, if you want to hunt mule deer, you got to draw one of these tags.
Yeah.
Tough tag to get. One in every 5 years or so, I think is what a biologist told me. Well, the western half of the state has mule deer all over it, right? So you can go to, let's just say, the Nebraska National Forest, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of acres, and if you're willing to hunt hard and put burn some boot leather, there is mule deer in there.
Oh yeah.
And so, that's where you can get your archery any deer, and maybe bump a whitetail, and that's what you want to hunt, or you see a mule deer and that's what you want to hunt. You have those options. And so that's my giving away my own information tactic of the day.
Well, and I do some of the same. I try and find states that allow either multiple game species opportunities or overlapping tags, or tags that allow you, like bear tags, for instance, a state that might allow you to come in and hunt them in the spring and not harvest a bear, and still be able to come back and utilize that same tag in the fall season.
That's a very Montana thing.
Yeah. I don't know that that's Montana. If I remember correctly, I want to say that was Wyoming.
Okay, I think Montana's like that for deer and elk.
Yeah.
If you have your tag's essentially good for all of the season. So even like, and I could be wrong on this, I haven't hunted a lot in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
If you go hunt at archery season and strike out, you can come back during rifle season.
That's awesome.
And if you strike out during rifle season, you come back during muzzleloader season.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I didn't have to do as much digging and get to that point on this last trip. So, but those are awesome opportunities. It's like you go out to Colorado, get your small game license. You're probably going to see a grouse or two.
Right.
And if you haven't had grouse, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I used to see them all the time, walking logging roads and whatnot, because they eat that little pea gravel for their whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'm always out there with a bow, and I'm not throwing a $40 arrow at a grouse. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I understand that. Yeah, it's hard to throw those arrows downrange at any of the small game nowadays.
I should just like keep like a little cheaper arrow with like a flu or something on it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I am getting into more upland hunting though. Now that I got the dog, here's an interesting thing about him. He's training to be a retriever through and through.
Oh yeah.
Like once like November hits, I turn into an entirely different person. Like only thing I can think about is ducks and geese, and like I'm infected until like March, and then I'm like,
wait, where have I been?
I gotta work on my marriage. I gotta fix my whole thing.
Knee deep in waders all winter will do that to a guy.
But I've been, my friends see that, and some of my who are really into upland, and so I've been looking at the crossover of like, how do you train a duck dog to hunt upland? Well, it turns out it's actually very easy.
Huh.
Upland training is not the most difficult thing in the world, and people who train GSPs and other pointers and stuff like that will probably have some other stuff to say. But like, the point I was getting at is I was so worried about his nose when I first got him, and he's only 16 weeks. So you can hardly tell even anything about him.
Yeah.
But he was like not really smelling stuff, and I dropped treats and he wouldn't get it. I'm like, oh, this could be a problem. But lately his nose has been doing so well, and we were at the shop yesterday, and they got their little minnow tanks over there for crappie fishing and whatnot. And he was walking around the store, got a whiff of those fish, and like stopped and went on point. I was like, "You're not supposed to do that!" Like, but it made me so proud. I'm like, "Okay, his nose works how it's supposed to."
Oh yeah.
He smelled something and got into a hunting position.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, "Okay, this will work. We have the tools to build the thing."
He's got it in him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is so concerning because the guys I got him from, great people, but they didn't give me any paperwork. They didn't have a breeding history. I just kind of went off, hey, mom and dad look good. Let's say, but with the big dog over there, they said he was one thing, and we think that mom got into something entirely different.
Yeah.
And that can happen, right?
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
Like, it was an unexpected litter. And I was like, oh, well, turns out he is a full lab.
Oh, yeah.
But I would have been so disappointed. I mean.
Oh, yeah. I think he was just in the puppy phase there for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get almost ADHD brained.
Seriously. And he's still so wild. But it's fun. It's really tested my patience as just a person, not even just as a dog owner. Like, he does something I don't want him to do, has an accident, whatever. It's like, he's 3 months old.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't know shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think that's a unique dynamic just to, like anything involving the outdoors, is that level of patience that you're able to gain through all of the trials and tribulations, through any aspect of it, raising a bird dog, going out and taking a new hunter or a youth hunter, going through your own ups and downs, trying to get your first turkey or your first whitetail. You know,
well, you talked here kind of about the youth hunter stuff, and we were talking earlier. You know, you have your YouTube channel. Shout out Strangewoodz with a Z. That's correct, right?
Yep, Strangewoodz Outdoors.
And you have some cool films on there, but it really seems like one of the things that you like to highlight is that mentorship.
Yeah. So I really am a big advocate for positive conservation, introducing people into the outdoors, not just in a positive light, but in a light that allows them to draw an appreciation from it. So I'll soft touch on some individuals depending on what kind of personalities they have. So I don't go putting 3 miles on somebody's boots that are only prepared for 200 yards. But it's been a learning curve. It's been a blessing to have, for sure. And hopefully I can get into more of that as we go. I'm really looking forward to this youth turkey season.
Yeah. What do you have lined up?
We have 2 days of turkey season for youth hunters before the regular season. And for those first 2 days, because we can hunt them all day, I've got 3 youth hunters that I'm going to try and jam into those 2 days. And I feel pretty positive that we're going to see a bird or 2 hit the ground, if not more. But regardless, we're going to have a great time. One of the girls that I'll be taking out, this will be her 3rd season now, and she missed one her first time we went out, and that's just been one of the richest turkey hunting memories that the guy has. So
and it's like when you miss, you get that, like, you either can get disappointed and quit, which is probably not as common. It's more of like you got that vengeance now and you're ready to get back out there.
They got in that close and I did that. What the heck? You know, I got to make it right next time. So, but no, it's not been much of that with the kids. It's been more of just an enjoyment. We get to laugh at it. Her and I still joke about it to this day. So I don't know. It's been a very, very cool thing to be able to take these kids out.
So is there like a program out there, or are these just like friends of friends? How does it work?
So I don't actually have actively a program. I am in the process of trying to structuralize something with that. So, you know, anybody out there that's smarter than me that has some input, bring it. I need it. But I'm trying to potentially set up some workshops for the summers, and then see if I can't integrate some more like workshop / outings for leading into the fall, to also integrate some educational side of things, maybe help these kids get set up with getting hunters educations, or just learning more programs that there are out there to help further research and studies as well, because that's something that I'm big on as well, is the positive conservation side of things. Is we don't have the greatest platforms to display all of these projects that we've got going on, trying to help with the National Wild Turkey Federation or the whitetail research or any of that. And I know that there's colleges and courses as well as private groups out there that are doing stuff like that. So it'd be cool to see more of that integrated into what I do long term as well, allow people to contribute more to that.
Absolutely. And I'm reminded of a friend who has 3 boys, and she doesn't come from a hunting family necessarily. So she's in that difficult position of like, her boys want to get into hunting, but she's not, super experienced. So she's trying to teach them how to do it and get after it while kind of figuring it out herself, which could really be, the success could be low, but also you can imagine to be relatively frustrating, right?
Oh yeah. No, and I think that's one of the first things we learn when we start trying to introduce new people into the hunting realm, is you want so badly for this to be a successful deal. You want it to go the way that you pictured it, but very rarely does it go that way. But that's part of the beauty of the process. But until you know that is the process and it is the miles in between, not the finish, it could be very overwhelming and very deterring to some individuals.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where it's good to have individuals like us who they can seek out and ask questions, mm-hmm. or mentorships. Just honestly, for me, it's been more of like a hunting buddy program. Mm-hmm. That's how it's broke down for me. I've got a group of boys I've taken out for 11 years or so, and now taking their little sister out, mm-hmm. and I've got a couple other friends and family as well that I've been involved with taking them out. And yeah, I mean, we really got to go that direction, long term.
I'd love to see, and this could be something that well exists already, and I'll look into it as just out of curiosity, but a dedicated program where guys like you, guys like myself, or anybody else who has experience and wants to do that mentorship type of thing, because I would imagine that there's a different level of fulfillment that you might get and different level of joy from putting somebody not only on an animal, which in and of itself, just a simple guide is really fun and exciting, mm-hmm. but maybe even getting to watch a youth hunter develop that hunger and passion for hunting.
I completely agree. And I'll actually go off on a little tangent here and tell you about a short story of a couple of those three brothers, the two youngest. I had taken them out the season before deer hunting, ended up flipped a coin, see who shoots first. We have a nice 8-point step out. The oldest brother says, "Yes, I see it." Well, we open the window. Long story short, he doesn't see it. The gun gets passed to the younger brother. He takes the shot. Well, fast forward into the next spring turkey season. They flip the coin again. Well, little brother draws first shot. So we get in there and turkeys start talking as it gets daylight. And as they start coming in, the younger brother leans over to his older brother, and says, "Hey, Donnie, you let me get that buck this last fall. You take the first one this year." Those little victories, those are the memories right there that really make it all worth carrying in the blind, the chairs, the little jet boil so you can make your hot chocolate for the kiddos that hour before the turkeys wake up.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about right there.
No, that's awesome. And there's so much moral character that's being developed in that process. You think about that level of compassion and consideration that they have for their brother. That's going to make them better people ultimately.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then in addition to that, I mean, I say this all the time. These kids have taught me more about myself and about being in the woods than going out there and selfishly pursuing, that 180-inch whitetail ever could have. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty that I love about modern day hunting. And I talk about this a lot, how hunting has had many different faces throughout history. We've had market hunting and we've had fur hunting and all sorts of different things that were relatively detrimental to the populations. And in order for it to have reached the level it is now, it had to become a sport, essentially. Mm-hmm. And obviously, even as sport hunting, we can still have subsistence within that, mm-hmm. and even trophy hunting. Those can all exist. And those are kind of the big three, the way I see it. Like, you have subsistence, you have trophy, and you have sport. And there's no... Some people are just all trophy hunting, right? It's like, if it's not 200 inches, it's walking.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll pay any amount of money to have it.
Oh, yeah.
Others, it's brown, it's down. It all eats the same type of mentality, right? But to have the sport that we have now, it's allowed us to have a sort of choose your own adventure type of hunting situation, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're like, man, I'm going to find more enjoyment from hunting whitetails right now by taking other people out who are going to get so hyped on a 100-inch deer, or it's got 8 points. Doesn't matter how long the brow tines are.
Oh yeah.
And and I love that aspect of it, that we can just, yeah, like I said, choose your own adventure. And that's exactly what you're doing. And I absolutely love that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely would agree. That's what it's about right there. Choosing your own adventure, making your own way. And I've been blessed to have a lot of that along the way.
So are you planning on documenting any of this mentorship stuff on your channel, or?
So yeah, I've done a little bit of some of the stuff that I've done. I guess not so much specific to the mentorship, but I've definitely put on videos with us taking the kids out and sighting in the 410 shotgun, you know, for turkeys. I've got, you know, photos where we've gone out and done little outings where we've learned about tracks and, you know, scouting for whitetails, looking at the habitat and the types of things they eat. But I've never really displayed a whole lot of it. A lot of it is just, I don't like the spotlight, seems like.
Okay.
And maybe that makes me a good person to be in the spotlight for it, as I don't want it. I want to do good because it's what we should be doing, not because it's getting me likes or views. And I guess that's probably been a big reason why I've kept it off of the air for the most part.
I'm reminded of a Meat Eater episode where Steve Ranella took one of his friends, this woman, out on her first turkey hunt, and she was having and you know, that's a very scripted show for the most part. It's like, you know, here's our segments, we're doing this, and there's a lot of commentary. But there was and you never see this on Meat Eater, right? Where it was like, Steve was like, hey, hold on, cut the cameras. Like, she's having a real moment, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's, as a viewer, I'm like, the emotion was already translated. Somebody killing their first turkey. And then I think what it got so emotional for is that they didn't find it right away. So she got worried. Oh, did I wound it? All this different type of stuff. But like, I was thinking about the pressure of that situation of like, I'm going hunting with a celebrity for the first time. There's cameras, who knows how many. We have these interviews. We have all these different things. They probably have contracts. I mean, it adds a lot of additional pressure to your first hunt. So I could see the cameras kind of getting in the way of that a little bit, or even taking away from the experience.
Oh yeah. And see, I still try to involve the cameras. So I guess I wasn't super clear on that aspect. I do involve the cameras a lot. However, the cameras, I take that footage home to these kids as parents, and I share that moment with them, with their grandparents. That is why I do it. It's for them. It's for us. It's our moment. And, you know, occasionally we throw one out there for everybody else to try and add some inspiration and some laughs, positivity. But, you know, at the end of the day, these are our kids. And if we continue getting caught up in these phones and trying to post those moments, are we really giving them everything? And that's one of the things that the older of the three brothers said to me one year when we were out scouting. This has been about 7 years ago. Made a comment to me, and he said, Damon, you know, I really appreciate how when we're sitting in the treehouse here watching, he's like, you're not like the rest of the friends or the family that are around where you've got your phone out. So you could be to pass the time, like most do in a tree stand. But we're sitting here laughing and, you know, busting up, cracking jokes, still seeing deer, mind you. But he's like, I really appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to be in that moment. And that was something that sunk into me. So I guess maybe it might be some of these precious moments that I've been exposed to that have kind of reeled it back into where I try not to get too much clout, I guess.
And I definitely worry about that, just as a society, how much like the technology is like severing what am I trying to say here? The connection that we share amongst one another seems to be a little diluted, or the signal strength isn't as strong as it could be. And I'm guilty of it, you know. For example, I was at the expo and had a really great conversation with this guy, and in my mind, I'm like, man, I want to have him on the podcast. Should have just been like right then and there. I've been like, man, you got some cool stuff to say. You want to be on the podcast? But it was like, oh, I had to go find him on Facebook after this and message him. And part of that's probably being like, oh, I don't want him to be like, screw you, dude. No.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But I also think how many people are legit missing deer? Because I'll be the first to admit, Kansas 2 years ago, 160-inch, massive buck on this farm. This was such an amazing piece, and I've made the conscious effort to not hunt there anymore because it's under new ownership, and I'll tell you about it a little bit off camera.
Okay.
Nobody had hunted it for probably 8 years, and it was the only piece of ag in this whole sector. And on paper, perfect property, right? Mm-hmm. But it had a lot of predators.
Yeah.
Big time predator problem. Anyways, I'm sitting there dinking around on my phone, and I see this massive buck. I mean, by far would have been my biggest buck to date. Anybody would be proud of this buck. And he's on the other side of this field, and I kind of give him a little grunt, and he kind of walks off into the CRP. I'm like, dang, I guess he wasn't feeling it. Well, next thing I know, he's coming back out right at me.
Oh, yeah.
Right under him. He's already in my kill zone by the time I look up. Here I am dinking around on my phone.
Yep.
Never got the opportunity to kill that buck.
Oh, yeah.
Had I just been locked in, been focused, enjoying my time in a tree stand, off in nature, even just looking at animals, that would have been one to really, really be proud of. And
oh, yeah.
I've tried to be much more mindful of that since then. And I was reminded of or introduced to this concept of the 3-day rule that people are discovering through backpacking. Effectively, spending 3 days off in the wilderness without your phone, without that digital touch.
Yeah.
People are showing, therapeutic level results of like transformation internally. It's like this natural reset that we're kind of experiencing. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, I want to participate in that a little bit more this hunting season. It's kind of tough trying to run a business and handle all that kind of stuff, but I think it's going to be necessary.
Oh, yeah. I think finding balance in that will definitely bring a lot more peace and enjoyment to it. And to add to that, talk about those 3-day camp and hunts out there in a place we won't name. Right. You need a guy to tag along with you. I'll help you drag one out.
Oh, man, absolutely. That would be a lot of fun. Well, and it's going to be an Ozark backcountry type of situation, so you probably already know the areas.
Yep. I've got some spots out there too. Might even get lucky and have a opportunistic hog.
Oh yeah, I've seen them. Here's a crazy story. I bought this deep freezer from this gal. She was a widow, and I got a great deal on it. And it was in the middle of like that last snowstorm we had. And I roll out to her place, and I said, "Oh, you guys hunters put the game in?" "Oh, my husband was." This, that, and the third. Somehow we got on the topic of hogs. I think Arkansas came up or something like that. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Oh yeah, my son was responsible for that. He had got a bunch of hogs out in Texas or something like that, and brought them out and released them in the Mark Twain National Forest." And I'm like, "Lady,
yep,
I'm calling the game warden right now."
Yep, throw them under the bus.
And it was like. But here's the reality. 5 or 6 hogs dropped off in a location like the Mark Twain, it's going to leave an impact.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They can have a litter of, I think, 12 to 15 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not educated enough on them to be able to say for sure, but I have seen firsthand the damage that they can do when they get into those river bottoms and the basins of those little Ozark Mountains, and it is devastating how much they can till up a ground that has roots and rocks.
Yeah. Well, and there's some concerns now about Missouri's natural glades getting overrun with invasive cedars.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine too, it's like those, because there's some glades out here that are absolutely stunning. You look at these pictures and it's like, wow. And in my mind, I'm like, that looks like great deer and turkey habitat. Mm-hmm. Where is this one exactly? I'm going to go check it out.
Oh yeah, those are some of my favorite spots to go sit. Yeah.
It's cool. And I turkey hunted a glade like that last year, and I actually got caught in a nasty storm. And I was down, like it was deep in a holler, then this glade kind of benched out halfway through. And it was a perfect little turkey spot, but like I was bow hunting and I'm like, I don't want to be out here in the middle of this glade with a big aluminum rod in my hand.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like running up a hill trying to get back to my vehicle.
I had the same thing happen to me last season. I thought I'd have enough time to beat the storm, and I went into this property, and I got about 2.5 miles, 3 miles in because I just can't not chase a gobble.
Yeah.
And then the storm started hitting. I started heading back. About 1.5 miles in, it completely opened up on me, torrential downpour, and well, turns out, old Damon still got some miles in him. I bet you I had a 6-minute mile.
God.
I got back to the van though, so.
I'm so bad about checking the weather. I'm just like, I'm going fishing. Mm-hmm. And my wife will be like, there's a tornado coming. What are you talking about?
Well, that was actually what I got caught in, was actually a tornado.
Oh, wow.
The starting of a I'm not going to say where it was because it'll give away some of the properties. But yeah, it came through and it hit. And I was like, oh man, this is pretty chaotic. This is more than just a little bit of lightning or a little bit of rain.
Yeah. Speaking of tornadoes, do you ever hunt down much in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I hunted whitetail 1 year down there. I planned on hunting them again, but they upped their prices. So that was talk about the technology getting in the way. I had a 140 class whitetail down there on a piece of public, and I was just trying to get the camera rolling. I got the camera rolling, and about the time I got my release clipped on and started my draw cycle, he was hitting my hole. Mm-hmm. And, it was one of those, I was 7.5, 8 foot off of the ground and probably a 3.5 inch tree.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't make it happen. All the horizontal limbs, I couldn't squeeze any shots after that gap. So.
And were you like in Eastern National Forest area, or what part of Oklahoma?
I would be in Eastern Oklahoma on that one. I did go do a property down Central Oklahoma as well. That was a pretty challenging property.
Well, and the thing is with the Oklahoma, because they essentially adopted the same deer tag system that Arkansas has, which is like, you're going to buy 6 tags whether you like it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really want to fill 6 tags in Oklahoma, dude.
Yep.
But the silver lining for Oklahoma is that it's statewide, so you could go western Oklahoma and try and find some mule deer if you wanted to.
I agree. That is a bonus to it. And then I'll add to that bonus a little golden nugget that a lot of people don't realize, and check up on the regs. Don't quote me on it. It may have changed. But at one point in time, you were able to harvest 2 bucks in the same day in the state of Oklahoma.
Interesting. They didn't break it up like we do in Missouri.
Yeah. Well, and then in Arkansas, it's the same way, but you've got to be conscious of what county you're in, because sometimes they'll only allow 1 buck total.
Sure, in a CWD zone or something like that.
Yeah, and then the regs as well, because they've got antler restrictions. But
well, and so 2 things about Oklahoma. One, the bear tags are not impossible to get. Mm-hmm. So, I want to hunt more black bears. Getting a Missouri black bear tag every year is obviously not possible right now.
Yeah.
However, they did just up the quotas quite a bit, so it might be more regular.
Yeah, we might end up getting lucky.
Well, the success rate's been very low.
It has. I will say though, I would question how many of these people that are drawing their tags
are actually hunting them.
Yeah, because from an access standpoint, I feel as though it'd almost be one of those where a guy would have to have access to a private land piece so that he could monitor via trail cams.
Well, you can run trail cams in the National Forest.
Yes, and some places you can, some places you can't, and you got to do your due diligence on that to figure out what those are. I personally don't run them, but I do in Arkansas. But in Missouri, I haven't dealt with it because there's too much back and forth. My
kind of philosophy on it is that if it's further from my house than 2 hours, I'll run them, because it's a lot of work to drive that far.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I don't want to get off Oklahoma, because there's 2 things about Oklahoma that I really want to touch on that I think is really important. One is black bears are very accessible there. Tags aplenty.
Oh yeah.
And I believe you can even bait for them in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on that, but I assume with you being able to bait for whitetails, that would fall under those categories.
But so now here's a concerning thing about Oklahoma that, I'm trying to get more involved in the sort of wildlife, political landscape effectively. So I actually recently became a committee member of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Missouri chapter.
Okay.
So, BHA, it's gotten a lot more popular once Ryan Callahan became the president and CEO from Meat Eater, obviously, the biggest platform in the outdoor space, really.
Yeah.
So there's this thing that's happening. These deer breeders, they exist in Oklahoma. And there's a guy out there who's a very large deer breeder who is associated with the politics out there in some way or the other. And they're trying to fast track a bill that would legally allow bred high fence deer to be released into the wild. Now, this isn't the first time that it's ever happened. Obviously, high fence deer have gotten out before. They have, intermingled with the wildlife. And I actually remember someone telling a story of a farm deer getting killed near Carl Junction 5, 6, 7 years ago. That was, all crazy stickered up.
Yeah, I actually know, yeah.
You know about this?
Yeah, he was called Mr. 200 by the locals.
Okay.
Yeah, he was about if I remember correctly, I think he was about a 205 to 215 inch whitetail.
Got it. Well, so this guy, he's trying to fast track this, letting and they're not doing it through the Fish and Game or the biologist. He's trying to get it in through the agricultural department, because he's got a buddy and what I mean, that whole type of thing. And it's reaching the point where even Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young have commented on it, saying, if this happens, we will no longer be accepting big game entries into the Boone and Crockett Club from the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, here's the reality. It's I don't even know why guys do deer breeding. I mean, I'll look at them and I'm like, that's neat. But I wouldn't be like, oh man, look at that 200-inch buck up there that I paid 50 grand for.
Yeah, no, I can't get behind the price tags. And from an education standpoint, the deer farms have their place, and it would be very entertaining or interesting for somebody like us to be able to have exposure to that in a long-term setting where you can read the behaviors and personalities.
That would be cool. Even if they're all GPSed up on a 20,000 acre ranch with fences. I don't want them, because for me it's all about wildlife, man. I want the animals to be wild in wild places.
Oh yeah. Well, and my idea behind that would be or suggestion maybe would be in regards to Oklahoma with that topic. They have so many high fence ranches that are already in place.
Exotics and stuff like that. Yeah.
Open a couple of those up as public land accesses. State fund them. Mm-hmm. Create a tag structure for non-residents or residents to support this idea and move forward that way. Because there's ways of... I think we have way too many ways of drawing the revenue needed to support these very logical ideas that some of these more involved hunters, such as yourself, are proposing. I think we're just hitting a point where there's a little bit of negligence, and maybe that's due to the lack of funding and people being present at stateside.
Yeah.
But I think it's too easy to implement some of this stuff that's being talked about.
Well, and I have some concerns, and I especially in the state of Missouri, not even just Missouri, Colorado, is that we're seeing too much of wildlife decisions being based off of public outcry, whether it's on Facebook or TikTok or whatever. And these will be decisions that a biologist who studied years and years will not agree with. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'm like, let the professionals be the professionals, have public comment and public concern, but too much we have people sitting on their couch and look, it's so easy to do that from right here. Hop on Facebook and be like, Missouri's managing deer wrong and we need all these changes and CWD this and blah, 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 blah. When in reality, this person doesn't know shit about biology.
Oh, yeah.
this person doesn't know shit about deer
Never
management.
bought a fishing license in their life.
Right. But if they have a big enough platform on Facebook or whatever, these are people who are legitimately affecting, public policy.
Oh, yeah. And I think we're seeing that in more than just the hunting industry. I think that we're seeing that because I've been involved here locally with helping get a skate park built for the locals. I wasn't like directing anything, just one of the supporters. And you see how little people show up to these city hall hearings, these city council meetings, and all of that, and actually, practice their ability to voice an opinion or object to an idea. And, you've got the opposing side. And I don't know that opposing side would be the correct term, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of times we're fighting for the same end goal. We want to preserve and protect the wildlife that's here.
Yeah.
Whether we have different ideas about how that should be done or not, I think that's a little bit more irrelevant than the fact of the matter. We all want these animals to thrive, be healthy, and be at a population that everybody has access to go out and appreciate them.
Absolutely. And I would say that the anti-hunter is probably, they like seeing the deer and the squirrels and the rabbits and the turkeys and those things. But it's so unfortunate because a lot of these people don't realize that if it wasn't for hunter conservation and hunting dollars, I mean, Pittman Robertson, or even the 1/10 sales tax we have in the state of Missouri that goes towards conservation, which obviously if you buy anything in the state, it goes towards that. So that's where those antis are putting a little bit of their money where their mouth is. But by and large, dude, I couldn't even count how much money I've spent on arrows, bows, ammunitions, guns, camouflage,
applications.
And I mean, all of that money goes back into conservation. So it's like, if you like seeing deer and you like seeing turkey, thank a hunter.
Oh, yeah. Well, and in addition to that, we have properties and we need to be using them, but we need to be respecting them. But you see a lot of people starting to fall off too now in some of these hunting areas. You see a little bit less on the turkey hunting side in some spots, some on the deer as well. And a lot of that's because things are being so mediatized and promoted, and it's kind of become an ego thing to some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, like getting. I lost my track on that.
No,
one. Sorry.
That's okay. Well, and honestly, the media part of it is definitely difficult because I don't know if you've seen the video I did that kind of went viral about the axis deer in Oregon.
Oh, yes.
Man, I'm like almost regretting putting that out because I know those farmers have just got to be getting absolutely like overwhelmed because I thought I just found out today. I know the video did good on my platforms.
Yeah.
But somebody posted it on TikTok and it was 10 times more popular on TikTok. And I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah.
So somebody
same.
like clipped my thing but it was like, I thought we had a lot of engagement on Instagram and Facebook. And I was like, oh shit. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who could be down there
harassing those poor farmers.
So like if they, or even calling biologists and talking about it. And so it's the type of thing where I'm like, oh shit. Like I wasn't really, look, I have some people who follow and stuff like that. I was expecting some of my friends like you and some of the other people to see that and be like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know about that axis deer. Turned into a whole other thing.
Well, I think that's a testament to do your own due diligence.
Yeah.
If you've got ideas and goals in the outdoors realm, do a little bit of digging because as you can see, there's opportunities waiting around every corner. And that one didn't pan out your way, but who's to say that the next one doesn't?
Right. Well, and it's funny because even in the comment section there, it's like you have every angle of that thing. Somebody says, no, it's this way. No, it's that way. No, it's this, that, and the third. And it's like, if you were to base your information off of this comment section, you're going to be wrong.
Oh,
like, one way or the other. And, even in the video, I said, I could be held liable for doing this hunt. it was a risk I was willing to take, but and it obviously didn't end up panning out for me in the first place. And it's interesting, right? Because with an invasive like that, it's not just axis deer in Oregon. We see it in all sorts of places. A hunt that I really want to do is the Aoudad sheep in Texas.
Oh yeah,
It's invasive. In Texas, not a lot of public land, so you're usually going to have to pay for something like that. When I lived in Oregon, I would apply for bighorn sheep every year. It's only $8 or something like that. It takes you forever to draw.
oh yeah,
But I got a hat in the ring, right?
yeah,
Now, not so much.
yeah,
So I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I save up money for a couple years, I could afford. I think the cheapest Aoudad hunt's going to be $8,000 or something like that.
yeah.
Which is obviously an insane amount of money to pay for an animal. But I'm like, if I want to kill a sheep in my lifetime, it just is going to cost.
Well, and in addition to that, take into consideration a certain percentage of that is going back into the wildlife.
Yeah.
It's kind of like acknowledging the place of the trophy hunters, not to get too far off topic, but African hunting, safari hunting. People look at that as an ego hunt or a trophy hunt, but at the end of the day, a lot of that money goes to those tribes. A lot of the harvest, because obviously we couldn't haul back a whole rhino or a whole elephant or whatever the heck they're hunting, but we get to indulge in trying that. But the whole village gets to eat on that, and it goes full circle. But that money then goes back into the conservation efforts out there or the anti-poaching out there.
Yeah.
And that's important.
And I think the African thing, it got a bad rap from some of those early films, because as far as I know, the whole time, most of these hunts are taking place on safaris, essentially conservation areas. And if you spend, call it $20,000 on hunting, one of my dream species is a greater kudu. The spirally horned one. Oh my gosh!
They're cool. They're beautiful.
But all that money goes back to that village, right? And those, like, having an American come over there with deep pockets is like what helps stimulate that. And yeah, you'll get to eat some of the kudu, but you're not bringing that meat back, and that's okay. It's like, if I get the hide and the antlers, like, I'm going to remember that forever. And Steve Rinella went to Africa for the first time recently, and they did a really good job at showcasing the conservation side of it and engaging with the tribe and the professional hunters. And, I'm not an Africa expert. Maybe there is some parts of Africa that's just go out, shoot them, kill them, let them lay where they are. And it's not just Africa, though. I did a podcast earlier this week with a good friend of mine out in Oregon, and he went to Australia to hunt. And they don't, dude, it's like so different out there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of invasives, you can hunt fallow deer and things out there like that. And I'm going to release some clips from that, and that'll probably totally ruin Australia hunting for everybody. But it'll be the type of thing where they'll go out and be like, oh yeah, nice buck. All right, moving on.
Yep.
And I was telling him a story. I was like, the same thing happened to me on a Stuttgart goose hunt, where it was like a bunch of people came in, shot our birds, and they're like, all right, see you guys later. I'm like, y'all ain't going to eat none of this? And just doing it for the experience. And at the end of the day, again, they bought hunting licenses. We took all those birds and we ate them, so it got ate.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you can't necessarily be mad that somebody's not doing it the way that you're doing it, even though you think that this might be the best way.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a bow hunter through and through. Like, I have a rifle, never even killed anything with it. But am I mad at rifle hunters? No. Am I mad at crossbow hunters? Well, I wish they'd have their own season.
You and a lot of other people.
But the reality is we do have an overpopulation in Missouri of whitetail deer.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And those numbers aren't dwindling by any chance.
No. And I do worry that if Missouri continues to raise their prices on hunting for non-residents, because we're already seeing the changes to turkey season. As a resident, I'm like, awesome. There's going to be way more turkeys out there.
Yeah.
And way less people, because $300 plus for a single bird in Missouri, which you're going to get great birds. There's always been great turkeys here.
Oh, yeah.
People are just like, it was kind of one of those things where it was like a great little thing, 2 birds, couple $100, go do the trip with your boys, whatever.
Yep.
But it might not have felt like that real adventure experience. And I know for a fact, I think it's deterred a lot of people away because Nebraska, their 10,000 on resident tags sold out faster than it ever has before.
Oh, yeah.
So those people who are like, well, I don't know if I want to pay $300 for another Eastern. Maybe we drive a little bit further north and go hunt some Miriams or go hunt some Rios.
Oh, yeah.
And we're seeing that 1 year change have an impact on tag sales. And like I said, as a resident, I'm like, I know turkey hunting is about to get better.
Oh, yeah.
Just by the virtue of less birds being killed.
Oh, yeah. And I actually have a controversial opinion on the
Okay.
on the turkey population. You hear a lot about the turkeys declining in our areas, and I would object to that. You could show me numbers, and I would still object. And a lot of that's just how much time I spend out there. And I acknowledge fully that I might just be a naive, over-optimistic bird brain out there in the woods. But over the last 5 years, I've only been hunting turkeys for 9. Mm-hmm. But over the last 5 in particular, I have experienced significant upticks in bird numbers in all of my areas. What I see most is an uptick in pressure, people hunting more intelligently, and I think that these birds are just getting smarter. Mm-hmm. And I think we're having harder times keeping track of them just because of how the land and the properties are laying out as well. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're getting a lot of pressure on a property, a small piece of public that didn't used to have an abundance of pressure because the last 10 years people have been seeing Strangewoodz videos and going, oh, I recognize that spot, so everybody's drifting there. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's less birds. There might be less birds frequenting that property on a daily basis, but I think that those birds are still in the areas in the hub next over on Farmer Joe's property.
Yeah.
Or maybe they are getting broke up and we aren't seeing quite as many big flocks. I see a lot more consistently the flocks of, 5 to 7 during the springtime. Mm-hmm. But during the fall and winter times, it's not uncommon for me to see 100 to 300 birds in a singular flock milling through a ridge while I'm whitetail hunting.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that, like I was touching on earlier, how we're not making enough biologically based decisions. I think about something like the e-bike, for example. Mm-hmm. That was introduced last year or the year before. Yeah. And it allowed dang near anybody to not have to get on an elliptical at all year and go deeper into the woods. Yeah. And I'm like, they wouldn't do that if the numbers were so in decline. Like, no matter how much outrage, because a biologist, they take all these things into consideration.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the more western states, they're like, okay, if there's, 1,000 elk in this wilderness area, we know we can allocate this many tags because just the average hunter is not going to go that far. Yeah. Well, we've eliminated that variable. And before we started this podcast, we were talking about that particular conservation area when we were outside. I hunted there last year. Everybody told me, dude, you're not going to find any birds there. That place is a freaking war zone. Mm-hmm. 200 yards from the trailhead. I'm in them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one of those places I've never not had. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people talk negatively about it, and I cannot fathom or wrap my head around how that's even a thought process. Yeah. I think a lot of it just boils down to, like you're saying, it's the people that don't want to get out on the elliptical or don't want to go out and walk around the woods in the heat and scout a little bit before season starts. Yeah. Or they pull up to a spot and they see pressure and they assume that pressure means they aren't going to get a bird or that they're going to be at risk, when in all reality, maybe 1 or 2 of those vehicles are hunting together and they're hunting the same field edge. Everybody's targeting that same hub. Mm-hmm. If you just sit 150, 200 yards from the parking lot off that main trail on that transition.
And this, and I did the type of thing where like I know that the majority of people are going to come in on the front side of this, so I was way around back. It takes an extra 20 minutes to get over there or something like that. And then the nearest field from that is a decent little hike, right?
Yeah.
And I could say another part about it, but I would absolutely give it
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot, like out here, where it's like, what would your average hunter do? And almost think about it like, I want them to drive them to me. You can use that a lot on public land.
Oh yeah, I religiously hunt with pressure.
Yeah.
I turkey's not quite as much. I do utilize pressure on some turkey hunts, but whitetail specifically, I have killed a number of whitetails just reading pressure and understanding how they want to stay downwind of things.
Yeah.
I mean that is the simplest tool right there. Just staying downwind of everybody else, you're probably going to increase your odds.
Dude, that same conservation area, I hunted one turkey. I had an opportunity to kill multiple turkeys, but I had seen one that's fan had like some type of, not albino to it, but it wasn't obviously an Eastern, but it had just such a different coloration to it. Like where was like normally tans were like bright, almost like orange.
Yeah. So I've taken one off of that exact property, and he's an Eastern, but he almost has a Rio tip look
Right.
to it, because it's just so light.
Some weird, it must be, and I wonder, there's the Wild Turkey DNA Foundation now, if there's like some weird heritage genetics that got kind of mixed in there or something like that.
I mean, there was definitely a whole heck of a lot of birds going in 20 different directions back in the 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
70s, even still to this date. So I could see where that would be a thing.
One of the things I love about that particular conservation area is that you can kind of, it's almost like, it almost feels like a safari in the sense that like one section of it will have this own type of habitat that'll remind you of the Ozark Mountains. And another part of it will remind you of Eastern Kansas, and it's all plain. And another part is like got these big tall trees, and you're like, this must be what it feels like to hunt in Africa.
Yep.
And it's just like such a weird collection of habitat that it's almost one of those, it's like a fractal of choosing your own adventure. It's like, how do you want to hunt? Where do you want to hunt? What do you want to hunt? We got it all for you right here.
Oh, yeah.
In 3,000 acres.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's one thing that not to blow Missouri up, but that's one thing that I enjoy and like about Missouri is, I mean, from where we're sitting right now, we've probably got 8 or 9 different properties within an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
That offer everything from, like you're saying, the Ozark Mountains. I mean, and I would actually even venture to say even more closely relatable to, which I guess these kind of are the Ozarks, but down Ouachita's even.
Right.
I've got some spots that are very, very mountainous terrain and big open timber. I've got other spots that are just nothing but ag. Other spots, just straight savanna prairies, CRPs, everything that you could want, swamp bottoms,
Yep.
refugees where it's flooded out.
Oh, yeah.
How could a guy get bored in Missouri chasing whitetails?
And I have the problem of like, if I would stick to one location and be like, man, I'm just going to get really familiar with this particular conservation area or this particular piece of public and just hunt it year over year, I would probably have way more success. But it just being kind of rich with options, it's like, well, I want to go. And I do like popping around. It's like, oh, man, there's these hardwood flats that is just like, you can see 2 country miles. I'm like, this seems really fun to kind of figure out how to kill a big buck in here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree. That's part of the fun of it is, I mean, you figure out one feature and you get real good at that. Well, you can challenge yourself by moving to another. You know, it's one of those, you get good at killing bucks in the big open timber, try and go kill one out in the prairie.
Yeah.
You know, see how that goes.
Gosh, I freaking hate that prairie grass stuff, dude. I was out on some army land, which a lot of around here, and that's some good ground, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was following some tracks, trying to keep the wind in my face, and I knew that there was a big field up top here. I'd seen it coming in, and it just looked crazy overgrown. I said, well, let me come around back, see if I can't get in through some of this tree line and whatnot. And this is like getting down to the wire of deer season. And I'm starting to crest this ridge over and just step on one little twig. And I watched like 20 deer just poof.
Just like, scatter.
I was right on it. I knew exactly where I needed to be. But they get into that tall grass and you're like, even if I wanted to, they could all be right there and you would never see them.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of spots like that. I've got a 180 class deer. I was hunting last season and he was running around with a 140, 145 in there as well. So, spot I've killed in before and I know very well, but it is 7-8 foot tall CRP briars and whatnot. So you've got to have them on you or get lucky and just find that one little sapling out in the middle of the prairie that you can get up just enough to shoot that 15, 20 yards and hope that they hit that trail. But man, you figure them out in there and you manage to get you a mature deer. It doesn't matter if it's a 100-inch deer. If you get yourself a mature deer out there, even a doe, it is something so rewarding about that.
Yeah.
Especially when it's done with archery equipment.
I know. I love archery so much, man. And it's funny because I remember last time I was out there, I was like, if somebody would just freaking burn all this down, this would be a great field. And obviously, very illegal, can't do all of that. But it always comes back to me for like, it's got to be difficult being a conservation department because I could sit here on a podcast and put it on Facebook and put it on YouTube and everything and bitch about my favorite little conservation area not getting managed. And maybe, they just can't get relationships with farmers in this area. But I've been on public grounds before where it's like one side of the road is private and this guy is clearly in there taking care of the saplings, opening up some sunlight to the bottom. And it just looks like an oasis. I'm like,
oh yeah.
And then on the other side, full of saplings, full of scrub brush, all sorts of blackjack, all sorts of crap that it's just like you couldn't ask a deer to choose between these two things because it's so obvious.
Oh yeah.
And then, maybe they'll put in a little corn or something and it's like, come on, man. Come on, we could do better.
Yeah.
But here I am, not volunteering for anything, so
yeah. No, and that's a fair statement. I mean, I'm not out there saying, hey, let me run the hay baler this weekend.
But you hear about, look, whether it's true or not, MDC is getting some money, right? They're not broke.
Yeah. And
it's difficult to be like, you guys need to focus more on Southwest Missouri when you have Kansas City and St. Louis. And St. Louis, is not got good public access.
Yeah, so St. Louis area, it's got some public, but most of the public in that general area is going to be management only hunts. I actually had one up there this past season. And
out towards Mississippi?
Yeah, up there towards it, basically it'd be on the west side of St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It went pretty well. I had a buck and a doe tag. I did end up getting close to a buck. I ended up not spending much time because a buddy shot his biggest second day of season because it was open in 2 weeks. Buddy shot his biggest to date and ended up being a little far back on the shot. So me and being who I am with my friends, I said, okay, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
4.5 hours away. I'll be there in a minute. And I drove back and he ended up getting drone and dogs, the whole works out that evening, and they ended up not having any luck, and was lucky, not to toot my own horn, but was lucky enough to walk in the next day and walk right up to where that deer was because it was on a pin that I had set the evening before, thinking that was going to be where he was bedded up at.
And sure enough.
He was within 60 yards of that pin.
It was a pretty nice buck.
Yeah, it was a 160 class, maybe higher.
Yeah.
So.
Gosh.
Yeah. Urban deer.
You know what? I think one of our mutual friends over at Outback.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yep, that was the deer. Well, depending on.
Well, either
there's a
one that
couple
he
of big deer killers over there,
and the urban hunting is getting more popular around here.
Oh yeah,
And
my biggest is an urban deer.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that work? Are you have to get permission and it's bow hunting only?
So yes, the urban, I say it's an urban deer for me. It's only urban because by anybody's consideration, it would be considered town. It was outside of city limits, and it was on a property that allows this type of setting to take place, to where you could shoot a rifle.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's on the north end of town.
Okay.
So was able to actually rifle hunt that property for a couple years. We've since lost it, and it's been rezoned and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But no, it's a lot of permission pieces. He would be a lot better individual to talk to in the urban permission piece realm. I've had a few permission pieces over the years, but that property was kind of happenstance. It was very lucky.
Yeah.
The group of kids that I got introduced to taking out, the arrangement with that family was, hey, you can come over, you can hunt the family farm just whenever you're out here. Take the oldest at the time was, I think, 13, 12 or 13. Take him out and bow hunt with him whenever he, is here and wants to go out and sit with you.
Yeah.
So it kind of grew from there into what it is now, and had access to that farm for 6 years. Took me 3.5 out of that 6 years to actually figure out how to do any good on it. But once I figured it out, we started putting it to him, and I was able to shoot. I think he netted like 143 or so. Split G2s, looks like a mule deer.
Wow.
It's a cool deer. So
yeah, people send me pictures of town bucks all the time, and I'm like, would be fucking sweet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The one individual that we were just mentioning, I mean, he lives in an area because they just opened up the urban hunting in city limits in Joplin, where it's archery only. And he has the acre that's required as a minimum to be able to hunt on his property that butts up to I think it's an 80 or a 90 acre piece of property, and majority of it's
more
timber.
than you need.
And it's landlocked, and it's just a haven for deer. So in addition to that, because of these big deer that we're frequenting and the stress of, man, how do I get them to narrow down to my yard, we had been discussing ideas, and we said, man, what you need to do is go door knock and just get permission from a handful of these people that line the edge of that property and find where he's crossing in and out at. And one thing led to another, and he ended up getting permission from 2 other individuals. And second day of season, 2 of his target bucks came in, and he ended up smoking that one.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, and it makes sense, right? Why these deer get so big. It's like if they don't have to leave that 80 or even if somebody's feeding them off the back deck, that happens all the time too. They just got their own little oasis there, and I think it's cool. It feels a little less wild, right, on the spectrum of how wild these animals are.
Yeah.
But it's like, look, everybody should have an opportunity to kill a bragging buck.
Oh yeah, and that's one of those things too, where it's like, it couldn't have happened to a greater dude. Like that guy definitely deserved, and he had put in some work on the public lands, and he's bled, sweat, and teared for these moments.
Yeah.
So he was deserving of it. But yeah, not everybody has access to that.
It's crazy how much intel that, if we're talking about the same person, this is the same person who's also an officer.
Different individual. I thought you might have been talking about that one, but yes, I'm familiar with him as well.
They're all buddies, right?
This one actually is he's different.
Okay.
Yeah, different realm.
Well, kind of the same concept though.
Yeah. It was almost the same parameters.
Yeah. See, I'm not on Snapchat, and I feel like so much of this intel gets communicated on Snapchat. Like people are like,
there's some guys that go back and forth on that.
Yeah.
Thinking that Snap's gonna delete their stuff, and then 2 years from now a memory pops up and said, oh man, I think my buddy might still have access to this.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I love about the smaller town kind of vibes is like hanging out with Jeremy. Like I'll send him like, you know these people? He's like, I do. Here's their number.
Yep.
He's like, I went to freaking preschool with this guy.
Oh yeah. Well, that was this past season. We had a buck dern rifle season. Was able to get a buddy on opportunity, and I think he ended up nicking a branch or whatever. But the shot ended up being non-lethal. But we tracked, and the blood led over to a neighboring property, two properties over. Got permission from both pieces, but the big property that we were wanting to grid search, because we figured that's where he was at, had no idea. So I get on Onyx and I do my due diligence trying to find out who the heck this is and how to get a hold of him. And I have a thought in my head. That small town energy. We're in a small town. The person who's owning this property says their address is in this smaller town that is in the area. Man, I wonder if my old boss knows this person. Sure enough, I make a phone call, and he grew up hunting with that individual's son and got us access. And then because we were so respectful to reach out and ask for permission to go grid search before just crossing boundaries, that old man appreciated that enough to say, you guys go back over there, go hunt.
Yeah.
And we went in there the next day and was able to actually get that buck. So, or
nice.
Put a shot on him and take him. So
I'm you know, it's a good thing that I love hunting public lands, because I am the worst at getting permission like that.
Oh, I can't do it for nothing. If I wound a deer and it crosses the boundary line, there's a moral obligation to put myself in an uncomfortable position. But I'm like you. I enjoy the grind.
Yeah.
I don't want it handed to me.
No, and I mean, look, there is great deer on private land, and with Missouri being so privatized, it's a big part of the game. But it's just like, look, there's another aspect of the game, which is just grinding on public. I mean, the other day, and this was in Kansas, because this is after I decided I'm not gonna continue hunting that 80 acres that I had. Even though it's a great property, I just know that it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know, I was really good friends with the mom, and she had passed, and something about the son that just doesn't sit right with me. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to let it go.
It's good to follow those gut feelings.
You have to.
They might lead you to a 200.
They very well could be. You know?
I'll cross my fingers for you.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, let me start looking at some properties on OnX, and that's maybe even a little bit closer to home in Southeast. And dude, one day I probably called 50 landowners. Strike out.
On all 50?
All 50, dude.
It hurts the ego.
Some of them would be like, we already got people hunting it, or my kids hunt it, or there's this guy who's managing it, and, I'll give you his number. I call him. No, I think we're about pretty full.
Yep.
Or some people are
We've already got the leases booked.
And the leases are crazy, man. This one guy was like, yeah, we got a bunch of land, but I'll tell you what, I got these guys down from Arkansas. They're giving me $5,000 a person, and, so it's just big money now. And I'm like, come on, man. It's not all worth $5,000. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's a big problem. I did a podcast with a buddy of mine who's a land broker like that. And there's a misconception in people's head that their land is worth more than it is because they see a deer on it, or they see a turkey on it, or they get a couple ducks in their pond occasionally.
Oh, yeah. And that's a good podcast to go back and look at, because there's a lot of good golden nuggets in there.
Oh, you like that one?
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed
cool.
that one.
I appreciate you watching that, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to educate a landowner like that about the value of their land. And even when it goes to sell, we just bought a house in Neosho, and we're getting ready to move, and we're kind of like feeling like, okay, we can really put some roots down and start our family here, and this is going to be a really good thing. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe in the next 5 years we can think about buying maybe a 40-acre hunting property or something like that.
Yeah,
dude, some of these people who think like, oh, I got 40 acres and it's had deer on it, and I want $8,000 an acre. It's like, for what?
Yep.
All this timber is overgrown and crowded. Your soil is all on a hillside, so it's non-tillable.
And then in addition to that, 85% of your property is nothing but a thermal hub.
Right. And, there's no water. Oh, but there was a big buck killed down the street. Type of thing, and it's just like, oh my gosh. So and that's on the internet, you know what I mean? But you drive around and you'll see properties that go up for sale, and it's probably a much better price. And it could be, so it's going to be that slow process. I want something that needs a little bit of work where I'll go in and put the food in, and I'll go in and hinge cut trees and do all this stuff. You don't do all that for me because you're going to think it's going to be worth way more than it is. You know, a little pop-up, $200 pop-up blind is now worth $1,000 somehow.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Especially if you've got a little mowed lane in front of it.
Right.
Yep.
So, but again, it's like, I'm sitting here, I'm talking about it like, you know, say it's a $200,000 property. How many deer and turkey do you have to kill off there to make it worth it?
Well, and that's where that podcast is an entertaining listen, man.
Yeah.
It'll paint some perspectives on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's big business.
Yeah. So, yeah, you gotta decide what direction you want to go with it long term, I think. So for some people, that property may not be, you know, worth it because it does cost this much, and I'm probably not going to shoot as many deer off of it. But if it's a recreational property and you're going hunting one weekend out of the year,
yeah,
and the rest of the time it's just a summer camp spot or a spot for your kids to go tear around on a dirt bike or a four-wheeler, then, you know, for one person, that $8,000 an acre might be worth it.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. I want something that I want to be able to do some work too.
Totally. And I think the whitetail game would be fun to, you know, put in the food plots and really, you know, quote unquote, grow deer. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. I think there is an appealing aspect to it just because of the challenge and the reward. Like, I have a buddy who I helped with that one farm, managing it for a while, and watched the age structure boom, you know, because of our management efforts. And then I've had a buddy out in the Seneca area, and anybody that knows Southwest Missouri, that particular bottom two counties there are very, very low bird numbers.
Yeah.
And we've done efforts, you know, just as simple as trapping, and we went from year one to, you know, you might see a turkey trickle through in the fall, to now it's not uncommon to drive past and watch 8 turkeys out in the front yard, 2 strutters and a group of hens, or, you know, and that's a pretty regular thing now.
Yeah.
And it's just been minimal efforts, but.
Two things. The predator trapping and the predator management in and of itself, I am a big, big fan of. We've done a little bit of thermal hunting with some friends, and it's a fun time. And if in trapping, I'm more interested in beaver trapping, but I'll probably end up running some coyote traps as well, just because it's like I care about the deer and turkey population so much, and running some raccoon traps. Because I mean, dude, you look at those little freaking bandits, and it's like you are built to freaking, you know, raid turkey nests.
Oh yeah. Dude, you know they are. You know they're eating eggs and, well.
And think about how many, like, okay, if you have a hen who lays a clutch, it could take a raccoon a day or 2 to get rid of all of those eggs.
Well, in addition to that, how many of these hens stay on the nest until you step on the hen's tail feathers? I've literally had it happen to me twice, where I've stepped on the hen before she takes off out of her nest.
Right. Well, so now you're losing an egg maker too.
Yeah. You know, so I'm sure that doesn't happen every time, but I'm sure that a hen here and there is going down because of it.
Well, and I think that was a big, like that property I used to hunt in Kansas, the predators were ridiculous out there. I mean, as soon as say the sun's down at 7:30, as soon as it got to like 7:15, it was a symphony. 360 degrees around you.
Oh yeah, here 5 of them over here fighting, 10 of them over there crawling out of that big old oak tree.
Dude, and the coyotes too. It's just like, gosh. And it's like, you know, this was like a little wildlife paradise, but if you're not, it is for predators too. And so I'd seen a really good sized bobcat sitting in a blind there one time, and she was probably 70 yards away, and I was like, I don't know if I can hit a bobcat at 70 from a box.
I understand that feeling. You think about it every once in a while, though.
I wanted to trap that bobcat so bad. Like, I just wanted the pelt. Like the new podcast studio, I want to have furs and like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But more important, like I was thinking back on the land and growing deer and all that type of stuff. Have you looked at these like New Zealand hunts at all?
I've not looked into them. I've just seen a couple of, the videos of people going out and doing some of these,
That's
like
the dream
stag
right
hunts.
there.
And,
Yep.
oh my.
Dude, because think about this. No natural predators. You have all these introduced species. You have fallow deer, elk, red stag. There's tar. So if you want like a mountain goat style hunt, all sorts of small goats, I think it's called chamois or chamois, I forget how you pronounce it. But New Zealand, man, is like the perfect place because they also have great upland birds. They have duck hunting.
Okay.
I mean, like all those things.
What's not to love?
So I was actually.
So we're taking a trip, right?
Oh, I'd love to. It's like high on my list. I mean, I was just joking around on the last podcast. I was like, if I disappear and nobody ever sees me again, I'm in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yep. No, I get that.
But what's so great about it too is it's in the southern hemisphere, so you could hunt fall and winter in North America hard. And as soon as duck season ends in February and you're like dying, get on a plane, go to New Zealand, and things are just starting to pick up. I mean, if I was a rich man,
Vacation property. Hello.
seriously though,
Yeah.
seriously. And South Island is like not populated; it's mostly farmland, and I mean, it's just such a perfect like little thing. And it's not. I don't feel like I'm blowing it up because look, you're gonna spend. I don't know. I've heard guys say it could be done reasonably at $5,000 to $6,000, and most of that's getting eaten up in airfare.
Yeah.
Because they have these like huts, like on all the public, there'll be like a hut that can sleep anywhere from 2 to like 10 people sometimes, and it's just a public use type of deal, right?
Yeah.
And so then you can crash out there, then go backpack out from there wherever you want to be. What I heard really ends up eating up a lot of cost is actually the helicopters.
I can see that.
A lot of the time the elevation you need to get to, and it's not like helicopter hog hunting or anything like that. It's just like you can either spend a day and a half hiking up to the appropriate elevation, like just nuts, right? Or give a guy $700 to drop you off. It's like, well, I only got 10 days here. Do I really want to spend 3 of those? Like,
Or more if I've got to pack one out.
exactly. Exactly. So it's like, there's that kind of trade-off you got to do there. But like the helicopter services are like abundant.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can call a buddy, hey man, I need an extract. Yeah, I'll be there in 45 minutes type of thing.
Almost like a Uber.
Right. Seriously though.
Yeah.
There's probably a helicopter Uber app out there.
Probably so. I wouldn't be surprised nowadays.
But it would just, to me, because I love those fallow deer and the stag. Like, there's a stag, painting over there.
I see it.
And it's just one of those species. And to me, I'm like, it's so cool because it's like, otherwise, it's like, I'm not going to India or like Tajikistan or something.
Have you heard the stags roar?
Not in person, but like.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine just picture the turkey hunting setting? You go in, you walk into the deep timber, you sit down at the base of your tree, you're waiting for sunrise, and then 40 yards away from you, you hear that roar. I gotta say, I'd be thinking Sasquatch was in there.
Yeah. I mean, because, being an elk and being in Bugle Fest is one thing, but that roar is something entirely different.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't got to experience that one yet either. I've got to experience a few bugles. That first trip I took, I feel confident I might have, if I had a tag in my pocket, I would have got one by the end of that day, on the last day. But that was about the only day we got into any bugles. And it wasn't a bugle fest, but it was about like a spring turkey morning.
I mean, once you get into the center of it and like you're like, I know there's 2 bulls on either side of me and they're both just screaming their heads off. I mean, you feel it in your bones, man. It's something else.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. But that's elk hunting. Like I've been in elk, like thick like that many times, and it'll be the tiniest little freaking cow you've never seen because you're in a herd of 200 of them, and she just catches a tiny little whiff of you on a crosswind, one bark, and the whole herd is blown out, and you're trying to chase them over to the next county.
Yeah.
I mean, they're, for how big and for how, big of a pack they can be, really tenacious animals. And I've gotten, I was 100 yards in. This elk story is a fun one. So here's the beauty of like really e-scouting hard and then putting boots on the ground. So this is back in Oregon, and there was some state land, national forest or something like that, which is, there's obviously an insane amount of out there. And I was looking at it, and what's really popular out there is logging, like logging company land, like Weyerhaeuser's the real big one out there.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at some national forest kind of outside of that stuff, because again, trying to hunt the hunting pressure. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this national forest, and I go deep down into this holler, and you're looking around, you're like, this looks like good habitat. You're seeing a lot of tracks. You're seeing all this stuff. I go back up onto the other side, and it's another smaller timber company. But on the map, on Onyx still, the satellite image hadn't updated. And so it looked just like a full, and it was like 180 acres or so of timber. This joker was cleared. So I said, oh, shit, I might be onto something here. Because those, is like good as, clear cutting is for habitat. It kind of sucks sometimes, but the first handful of years of a clear cut is like so productive for game.
Oh yeah. You get into year 2 through like 5 to 7. Mm-hmm. Money.
I love that timber thinning feature on Onyx. I'm even using it out here for national forest. It works.
Oh yeah.
So this piece though, the map hadn't updated, so it was like, to me it was like a gold mine, right? And even more so, I came in around the backside, so I'm looking down into this valley really, and all that clearing, and the road in. They still had the they'll like dig these trenches and run big pipes so that the water will continue to flow under the road that they're building.
Yeah.
Well, they dug out those trenches, but it hadn't even filled back in yet. So like, in order to get down there from the road, you had to go deep down into this trench, and there's like 3 of those to get to this kind of hidden valley area. I just knew I was like on a hunting hole, right?
Oh yeah.
So I get in there about a week before elk season opens, and sure enough, there's a herd in there. I said, great. So I come back during elk season, and the first time I was looking down in there, I seen this cow elk. It was the first thing I seen. She kind of was bedded down, and she was so big. I said, is that somebody's horse in there? Like, is there like a wild horse? Like, what is going on? And you start looking a little closer. You're like, oh, no, that's a cow. Then you're like, oh, wait, there's another cow. Oh, shit, that's a big-ass herd. Uh-huh. And, like, I have videos of, like, bulls mounting cows in there and, like, actively breeding and stuff. Anyways, so I work my way down into this from the backside, because I had seen other hunters try coming in from the road, and I'm like, it's not how it works. You know how the wind is. You can feel the wind at your back. I know you can, because I know what the wind's doing down here. Mm-hmm. And guys would come in. A couple of them would see me, and I'd be like, fuck out of here, And they did. So anyways, I get down in there and working the wind. I waited on the ridge probably 2 hours till the wind got right. And just get over to this ridge. I'm 100 yards out from this bull. I look over, dude, and there's a little freaking yearling cow not 20 yards from me. Blew the whole herd out. And that was a really unfortunate year. That same, like 2 days later after that, I'm looking for that herd and trying to find some more opportunities. My landlord at the time decided he was going to sell the house and evict us, and like, so I was like,
sent you through that whole charade.
Well, and I had roommates and my fiance, and it's just like, I have to take care of this. I can't let us all become homeless.
Oh yeah, respectfully so.
I need somewhere to store this elk, and so I'm gonna have to find us a house. And,
yeah, kind of pointless to shoot one when I don't have a freezer to put it in.
Right, dude. And we ended up almost going to court over the whole situation. It was a total mess, but. Elk hunting is just so finicky like that. And Roosevelt elk, man, in that thick country, it's not any easier.
Oh, I can only imagine, because, I mean, you get into that thick stuff, then you really can't see them.
Yeah.
And then it's like you're just rolling the dice on whether or not your thermal. It doesn't matter if you know what your thermals are doing. Mm-hmm. Are they going the right direction or not? Because I can't see where the elk is.
And it's so nuts, dude. You get into those thick cedars or thick pines, and it's like, how is this giant rack the size of a Mini Cooper just running through these woods?
But they do it. They do it. Yeah. No, they're so graceful about how they navigate that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you'll have them just walking through, and if they don't want to be making noise,
yeah,
they're silent as can be.
So are you putting in for Colorado archery? Gonna do it with a trad bow?
Yes.
That's sick.
Yeah. That's actually the one you saw me shooting. I originally bought that bow to do an elk hunt with. Years ago, had some car issues. Transmission went out right before, so wasn't able to do that. But yeah, this year's the year.
Yeah.
And we're gonna give them hell. I'm gonna be out there. I'm planning the entire month of September.
Yeah.
I might link up with a buddy that's up there, depending on his schedule, for a few days. But I think for the majority, I'm just gonna be out there solo with the recurve and the van.
Yeah, it's funny. Mad Goat Bowstrings, Justin.
Yes, sir.
He was giving me a hard time because I was doing some turkey scouting here in Missouri recently and got my van deep down in this holler. And he owed me a little bit of a favor for, I did his website and his social media and all this stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to call on that favor. I need a tow, buddy.
Yes, sir.
So they came out, recovered me from there or whatever. And he's like, I didn't know you took a minivan down into these freaking haulers. I said, that's what I got, dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got the little Transit Connect, the little compact version. But heck, that thing's been out to West with me twice.
Yeah.
Still to this day, though, I'll be honest, Arkansas has been the most challenging terrain to navigate, both with a vehicle and on foot for me.
Just the roads aren't as maintained, do you think? Or
well, you get into some of that big, some of those state forests, and you get into this areas where there's still logging practices going on, whether that be on these private timber companies or the logging company or the National Forest is doing logging or what have you. And they just get so rutted out. And that little Transit that I have does not matter how hard you dig, you cannot find a lift kit for that thing other than 1.5 inches. So I sit about a Ford Focus clearance level.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we get through it.
Yeah. And I'm in the minivan right there with you, man. I mean, it's, look, I can't let something like not having a 4x4 or F-250 or whatever deter me from getting out there in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had that minivan on Moore, Oregon, logging roads. Get down. We're having a conversation, big bro. The minivan's been back there. It's been to, countless duck refuges, and I've gotten it stuck in a cornfield before. I got it stuck down there in the Ozarks, and it's
I get it. I got snowed in on top of a Arkansas mountain, not this last season, but the season before for 3 days.
The snow. I've been up in the mountains in the snow and throwing chains on, and it's just like, but again, it comes back to that tenacity that you have that I really admire. You can't let that deter you.
Well, and the miles between, man. That's part of the adventure.
Yep.
That's part of the fun is getting to figure it out. You know, not having a 100% plan. Okay, I've got my A to B figured out, but let's see what happens in between here.
Yep. No, absolutely. Well, I think these dogs are getting a little restless. We've been at it for a couple hours, but bro, thank you so much for taking the time with talking.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It was great to pick your brain a little bit more and hear some of your stories. And I'm really excited to see how Colorado shapes up for you this year. And maybe we'll do a postseason podcast and we'll swap some stories or something.
Yeah, I'd be game for that.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Well, thanks, and good luck to you this turkey season.
Yep. And just so everybody knows, Strangewoodz on YouTube. And if they wanted to hit you up, maybe about the mentor program, like Facebook or something? Or?
Yeah, you guys can hit me up on Strangewoodz Outdoors Adventure on Facebook or Instagram. YouTube is Strangewoodz Outdoors, and that's Woods with a Z. Feel free to drop a comment or private message me. If it needs to be gone through any deeper, I'll get a hold of you guys privately, and we'll figure it out. I'll exchange a personal number or whatever we need to do.